Welcome to Sheet Metal Week on the Crew Cab. We have a whole lot on the agenda. But first off, here's a cool fact that I wanted to point out. So today is January 14th, 2025. Exactly 1 year ago today, I bought the 4th gen frame that is under this truck. And, you know, honestly, I had no idea how fast this was going to come along, but I'm thoroughly happy with the progress here. Of course, we got a running, driving truck, but there is snow everywhere outside, which means salt. So we have not drove this thing in a while. You can see it did get drove in the salt just a little bit, and it is disgusting because of that. So as soon as it warms up outside, we will be cleaning this thing. Yeah, my brand new traction bars and lift and stuff, they're all disgusting. That's just the way it goes. This week's goal, Sheet Metal Week, right here on the Crew Cab. What we're gonna do, first off, I'm taking this fender off. It's about 1/4 inch low. You can see right there, that body line is just a hair bit lower than this trim. And so anyway, I wanna raise that up. And then I decided what I'm gonna do for my transition here. It's gonna be these steps. So that's got a nice round curve in it. And I'm just gonna cut this out of the step all the way around as far as it needs to go from this curve around and reach that fleet side bed right there. And then there's a spot I need to patch right there on the inner lip. And I'll do that while this fender's off. That'll make it nice and easy. And then I'll wire wheel or sand or whatever the inside. And same for this side, get this side done. And then I'm basically gonna work my way around the truck. I think this door's good. Then I got this little spot right there and right there that I gotta fix up. And then from there, we're gonna come back to this side. We're gonna pull this fender off. So that way we have access to this door, this rocker, both of these rockers, and that door. So we got to do just the corners right there, and then the rockers. So the rockers here, I got to do the bottom of the pillar, and then I got to do my nice little tool area. I've been keeping tools and ratchets and stuff in here this entire time, as goofy as that is. But I gotta pull this up. Yeah, I got to take all this out. Under here, everybody probably missed this episode because it was way back in the beginning when nobody watched this channel. But under this, there is a wiring harness and I put this on all 4 corners of the doors. So this is just metal that's formed 90 degrees, and then it has a nice little swoopy there where it meets this. So the wiring harness that goes all the way back, and that is in fact my, well, not third brake light on this truck, but the wires for the cab lights go up through there, and what would have been a third brake light on that 4th gen. Once all this metal work is done, we're gonna be ready for primer. And you know, we're gonna work as diligently as possible and hopefully get primer on this truck here soon. The only other thing that I can think of, once we get all the exterior body panels and stuff done, we got to do the interior. So I got to figure out my radio still. My goal here is kind of similar to this 4th gen setup. It's going to be a flat face. It's going to have angled edges, kind of just like this 4th gen thing. And there's going to be a flat screen radio in there, and then a circle vent and a circle vent, and same over there. And then all this will be in steel instead of this plastic stuff. So this will have a nice little rectangular cutout. Same thing for this. And then I'll take out this ram. I won't even need that in there. And if there's like a big open blank spot at the bottom, then I'll just slap a Chevy bow tie in there. And then after that, once I figure out what I'm going to do there and get done cutting holes and drilling and stuff, then we're going to be ready for primer. And that is really exciting to me. So here's an update. We got the inside wire wheeled, the outside wire wheeled / sanded. Anywhere there was Bondo, I took the wire wheel. It got it out a lot faster. You can see there I've been beating on a dent. There's quite a few dents I beat on in this thing. Got them out where they're not quite so deep. I was able to get this one out. There was one right in the body line there. It's got a little bit of a wave, but it's certainly better than it was. And then this whole area right there, you can kind of tell was squished up. And all I really did there was just set this on one of those wooden 4x4s and tap around. That one will still need a little bit of work, but I'll do that when it gets on the truck. So what I'm going to do now is this area here, You can see where somebody cut this out. I guess it had rust in it. So we're gonna work on that. Here we all are a little while later. Already got the fender back on. Since it's 1/4 inch higher, there's a little bit of a gap there now. So this body line's right where I wanted it to be with the trim, and I've already cut out the bottom and started on this step. So I'm gonna time lapse this because I think it's gonna be kind of cool to see this come together. All right, we're on to the next stage of this project. I got my fender on here. This part is done. That's on there. Okay, so looks to me like there was body supports here and up here where I'm at. But these have fallen out. So what I'm gonna do is make some supports that go from the frame to about this area. So from the frame to like this area, and then maybe over here, kind of, sort of, and then it's gonna end, and then there's gonna be a bolt that goes through, and then it's gonna have a flange on this side too. So rod with a flange, bolts through to this one with a flange, and then it'll go to this one. And I think that's better than drilling a hole through this, because I thought about making one rod all the way through and just putting it through a hole on this one, but then this one's gonna have vibration. I don't want this thing to crack down the road. So gonna do it like that, and then with the flange, I'm gonna put sealant in between it before I bolt it tight, and then it'll come over here and it'll mount to these outer ones that are still there, nice and solid. So the same on the front and the back. There's one up here. Because when I was driving this around just as a fleet side, this would shake really, really bad. Like just in the wind, it would vibrate. And you know, this is rigid, more rigid. So it's probably not gonna shake. But I don't want it to sit there and vibrate any type of way and crack, because that would be bad once this gets painted. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do here. So I'm done with this side. And I moved all the stuff over to the other side, and we're about to get started over there. Made all my supports. This one, and goes to that one, which just goes up there to this inner fender piece. And same thing on the front. So now this is nice and rigid. You know, this inner piece is patched. So hopefully vibrations won't be a problem on this. I'm not really worried about it shaking, other than the fact that it would crack these welds eventually, and that is certainly something that I do not want after this gets painted. So it's all welded. I went down, you know, obviously you can't get all the way in there, so that's just gonna take a little bitty skim coat. Yeah, I like it. Turned out good. This area here is the hardest, so I literally just took a die grinder bit and went in through here and kind of got just the edge of it. But yeah, we look good. This body line looks good. So yeah, this fender is going to come off now. It's going right back on the exact same place. It didn't have to be raised a 1/4 inch like the other side. So I'm going to take it off, clean the inside, patch this little area. You can kind of tell there. Sand the inside of the bed, grind all this Bondo out of this thing, work on some of the dents, and then we're going to put it right back on in the exact same spot. And there you have it. I took this thing and I just had an old piece of a steering column and I stuck it in the vise and beat it. And now I have like a half circle. So that is my repair for this area. And it's not long enough, so I'll just make another scrap piece. This is just a random scrap piece I had. So right now I'm gonna trim out right over there and some of these wavy spots, and then we're gonna weld her in. There's that. Now we got some dents to knock out. Got a pretty good one there, right in the body line. A couple little ones up here. And then a really bad one right through here. So this whole area was Bondo, if you guys were paying attention. There's one in the body line right there. That one's pretty much a part of that one though. And then a few back here. Thought there was another one back here. Yeah, there they are. All right. Going back together on this side, I've got a pretty good start all the way around it. Still got to fill in the rest of these areas that you can see here. And then I got smart on this side, used the curved part of the step where it goes around the corner. See, that's from the other side. And I use this curved section on this side, which I definitely should have done over there. Made it a little bit easier. I still had to pie cut it quite a bit, but I haven't cut into it yet. Making sure that I got it at the right angle, because the other side I had to go back and cut it out and raise it up some. So it's gonna have to go up just a hair towards the outside to meet up with this body line. But it's just tacked on here right now. I have to maneuver it some still. Starting to look pretty good. All right, next up, I'm pulling these wheels off so I can get access. I still got to do this little area, and then after that, I'm gonna make my mounts up on the inside. And then from there, we're gonna clean all this up, put mineral spirits on it so it doesn't oxidize, and then we're gonna move on up to up here. Now, if this is not the coolest thing I have ever seen in my whole life. Oh man, look at that. Oh my God. Well, this is just about the coolest sight I think I've ever seen in my whole life. So, this is the first time I've had an RC car in years and years. But this thing's pretty sweet, man. Like, these have come a long way since the last time I had one of these. This got actual limited slip rear end, aluminum wheels, all steel frame, you know. Pretty sweet. Oh yeah. So I guess these are LED lights. This is so perfect. Like, it literally is a clone. Of course, it is not an actual licensed Chevy product, apparently. So we got CEN Racing back here. I don't know who came up with this thing, but it is basically the vision I had in my head when I started making this truck, with minor differences. Like, the pillar's a little bit different. The mirrors are different. The fenders don't have the little thing at the bottom. But other than that, It's pretty much the exact same. Like, we even got a similar bumper. I guess I can get a chrome one of these things, but I did cut around to give it that contour there. Somebody said paint this metallic gray, like I got my lift kit and stuff down here. So I think that's a reasonable idea, to be honest. Might do that. But yeah, I mean, those are like polished aluminum or stainless, and that's a white stripe. So I mean, that is pretty much what I'm gonna have going on here. Like, whoever come up with this, heck yeah, man. Ah, cab lights, missing those. Probably can order those somewhere. Earlier, before I went and did my other set of errands and came home and found that beautiful thing, I started tearing this apart because this is the next step. I got a couple spots in this panel I got to repair. That has to come off before the fender, and then the fender was going to be next, and then the fender has to be off before the door, so then the door is going to be after that. So I was started on the next phase. What I was telling myself earlier is that I had to tear this thing apart because otherwise I'm going to be wanting to drive it. So if the wheels were on it and that was on there, there's no doubt that I would drive that to go get the pieces for this thing. But it is best not to. Not with all this bare metal. So this one guy just commented and said, those West Coast mirrors are hideous. So we're going to fix them. Much better. Honestly, I don't know what I was thinking this entire time without those on there. All right. Both new mirrors are installed. Honestly, I think that's what this truck has been missing this entire time. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So if you look really closely here, this fender has a flare on it, okay? And also this front end is bigger than a C10 front end. And do you know why that is? It is because this is a C60. And do you know what C60s came from the factory with? West Coast mirrors, okay? That's how they're supposed to look. All right. I'm done screwing around now. Time to get serious. So after looking at this thing, I decided that I might put some dually wheels on the front of this truck. So while I got both sides of the dually wheels off, I'm going to put some dually wheels on the front of this and see how she looks. All right, new mirrors and dually wheels on the front. Yeah, man, this is starting to be a look, I think. Wait a minute. Did I do something wrong? Oh, man. I think that might be on backwards. Huh. Is there any detectives in the audience? Is this wheel on backwards? Did I put the wrong wheel on? Like this one? The wrong wheel on the front? I don't know. We better flip it around and see how it looks like that. Still think I put the wrong wheel on the front? This is with a 2-inch spacer. Hub, 2-inch spacer, adapter, Alcoa. And it looks like a little skinny. So there you have it. There's my reason for putting the wrong wheels on the front. That really is enough screwing around. I'm going to put that wheel back on, but these Dodge tow mirrors are staying. That's a permanent fixture now, forever. Unless I can't fit through the door. And then we're just going to plow through the door. All right, we're back. It's 4 days later. Yesterday was firewood day. So we got that done. It's like 5 degrees outside. So anyway, last night I did a little piddly task on this. Got these lights put on. I did have the red one up there at first, but I decided right there in the center looks better. So I've already drilled the holes for those. I just got to kind of finish up the wiring. I got to splice it into the rest of the truck. It's just sitting there on that battery. And then I have this one ran up over the fender, and I'm going to put that braided wire loom over it, and then it'll be zip tied or 8L clamped to my supports that I made in here, something like that. I'm thinking I'm going to have to come up with some kind of plastic, basically like an inner fender on a modern truck, but hopefully I can get it in like a roll that's a foot or two wide, and I'll just form it around all that stuff and then cover the back, because there's a big old hole back here just the way the fender's made. And then that support down there, I made that 2-inch wide piece because then I can screw it to it instead of the round one. If I have to, I'll add something else in there to make it, more solid. Same thing up here. I was looking at that too, because that's where these start to rust out, is specifically the other side, because this thing is not in there, this block off plate. All this area gets caked in junk. And same thing up there, especially where I lengthened my front end 4 inches. There's even more room to collect garbage. As you can see, it already has. So basically, yeah, just some kind of piece of plastic. And I've already got these welded in, and they connect stuff on the top, but maybe I can just put like a longer screw in it whenever I reinstall all that stuff after I paint this, and then I'll just put a nut and a washer down here on a piece of plastic, and then screw it to the inner lip here. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I got this mocked up. One of the guys commented, and he said, put 3 bars as steps. And I'm not exactly sure what he meant by, not entirely sure what he meant, but I did envision something kind of like this. I'm definitely still going to go AMP running boards, but we don't have those yet. And even if I did, the rockers aren't done, so I can't bolt them on, because those are nice and soft and crunchy up on the insides of the rockers. But I'm certainly thinking that I'm going to have to add that swoopy-doo right there, because that's going to make it look a whole lot better. It's going to bring it all together a little better. And honestly, if I put C60 steps on this, like the regular factory ones, and only made them come down, the full-size ones come way down. Like, it's a big step. Just shorten them up quite a bit. I think that would look pretty good, honestly. So anyway, picking up where we left off. We got this thing off the truck. So we're going to start by patching this hole where factory antenna was on just this section of it, and where this screwed in on just this section, and then where the light used to be on this half of it. And then from there, take the fender off, fix the fender, then the door, then weld the rocker right there, the seam in the center. And I think after that, we're going to be patching this. This I've never fully completed. I never really had a best idea of what I was going to do. And I've thought about it since this was April of 2024. So now it's January of 2025. I've had that much time to finally figure it out. So I got an idea of what I'm going to do here. Basically this, but boxed all the way in. Weld it to the truck. And then from this side, we're going to come on around back to this. So I got the back here done, or the tail of this fender. All right, so now I'm gonna work on beating out some dents. Now you can really see here where I stretched it 4 inches. There's a little bit of waviness in there that I'm gonna work on a hair bit. And then there's this thing, which is gonna be really tough to get to. And there's one right there too. You can't even hardly tell because it's in the shadow, but most of it is on this flat right there. And I couldn't get to it before I welded all this together, because I mean, before this whole front piece was just its own thing, but it's hard to get to. I might have to build myself a slap hammer or something to get down in there. What I was doing right here is taking this tire iron I was gonna set it on that and tap the hammer out here where I can get to it. Project is getting very tedious. All the little knick-knack stuff that didn't get done, you know, just over the course of building this thing, now I'm having to go and dot all the I's and cross all the T's. So like, I didn't have all this spot welded on for whatever reason, I don't even know. But so that's finally done. Like the door back there, that's finally done. So anyway, now what I got to do is finish my support for this. See, this side is halfway supported and the other side is about the same, but since it never fully got done, just driving this thing around, there's a little stress crack in the fender there. So obviously I made this entire front end and never really came up with the best idea on how I was going to attach it to the firewall, so I just didn't do it. So anyway, now I'm going to finally do that. But my plan here is, I had these pieces in my mind because I knew I had them back there, but I only got 2 of them. I'm gonna need 4 total to do this side and that side. But what I'm gonna do here is probably go cut some brand new stuff like this out of 1/4 inch over there. I'm gonna tap it 5/16 by 18, like these little 1/2 inch bolts, or 3/8 by 24, like all those 9/16 head bolts, because there's a bunch of those. Like all these are 9/16. But anyway, basically what I'm getting at, tap these, stick them on the back side back here. Well, I'm gonna tap the middle too with a 1/4 20. And then I'm gonna stick a flush countersunk 1/4 20 through the sheet metal, so that way it holds this in place. And now these, the way these are, they're up inside there. You can kind of see, there's one of them. And then the other one's right there. So those are nice and fun to get to, and I don't really wanna have to take that panel off every time. Honestly, I mean, this will probably get painted and go back together, and that'll be it, but it seems like the right thing to do. So 2 bolt holes, one there, one here, 2 bolts, top and bottom, and then it's gonna be 1/8 inch angle out to here. It's gonna have 2 bolts going through it. It's gonna have a section that comes out this way, and then the same thing down here, angle and then back through, and then the bolts are gonna go all the way through and have nuts down here. So that is the plan here. here we are. This piece is made. Got all my holes drilled. I got my flush mount countersunk screws in there. We're gonna pop it together right quick. All right, I got this little area done. She is nice and solid now. So bolts on the inside to a block, and same thing down here, and then some through bolts, and then 2 countersunk screws. Actually got way fancier than I need to there. I don't even think those need to be countersunk because the fender comes out quite a ways before it goes down. So these would have clearance. That hole right there that's partially covered up is one of the holes in the fender. So I'm gonna have to put the fender up here in a minute and trim this out. We drill a new hole back here somewhere. Yeah, this one's pretty far away. That's probably what I'll do. Drill a new hole and tap it. Anyway, on to the next project. While I got the fender off, I've already lifted up my front end here, and I took these 3 shims out. They go right there. This is from changing the front end up after I did the 8-inch stretched front end to fit the 4th gen intercooler and radiator and mechanical fan and transmission cooler and AC and all that fun stuff. The truck was hideous. It was stretched way too far. So I cut all that back out and only needed to do 4.5 inches to fit a 2nd gen radiator, intercooler, and electric fans up front. So you can see there, it's pretty tight fit. But anyway, what I'm gonna do, these shims, I'm going to weld them all together so that way they are one piece. I just drilled out the holes in them because they were all mismatched random pieces. And then it's going to be an M14 by whatever this thread is. But it came out of the suspension on this. I just pulled it out of the bag of all the stock components that I pulled off this when I did the lift. That's what we're about to do. And then from there, I'm going to finish up my cab mount where it's not finished. I tossed the door back on. It is not bolted. Only did this to see all my pretty brand new metal down here, side by side. But this is bolted now. There's these 2 holes, and then there was 2 holes there too, and that was where there was like some inner structure in here. But where this fender was torched in half right there, and I scabbed it back together, I just drilled out whatever this crap was. It was all gommed up on the inside. So now I just kind of contoured that a little bit. That is that's a weld. That's not ground off. That's not a crack. Anyway, yeah, drilled and tapped, filled in these holes, kind of, sort of. All this whole area is going to have to get a skim coat, so I'm not super worried about doing that much more. I don't even remember if I videoed this thing or not. I patched this yesterday, took the light off, patched that area. Stick this up here. So filled in the hole for the antenna up there. This one doesn't want to stay put either. Good thing this isn't painted yet. But yeah, so all that area is pretty well covered. So cab mount is done down there. I'll have to grind on it a little more once I take this whole front end apart. But I suppose now I'm on to the other side. So basically same thing as I just did there. I got to fill in this hole. This one did not have an antenna hole up there. So I guess that's all I got to do. Build the inside support back here. I don't know, this cab mount, this one. Oh, the only thing that I got to do there is like figure out what to do to make it look better where that bolt is. Because I just stopped it right there. And if I ever had to change the gearbox, then I guess I wouldn't be able to get that bolt out. So we'll mess with that. Same thing with these 3 shims. So I'll make those where they look a little better. And then this mount is for a windshield wiper motor. And so that's what the hose is for this. And I had that thing depart the truck while driving one time. And so my wires are ripped open somewhere over here. Plugs are gone. So I'm gonna have to order some plugs for that thing. That was before I had this mount made because it was zip tied in and it departed. Departed the vehicle. All right, I got this wiper washer reservoir mounted. So I tapped that. That is a 5/16 by 18. And then it bends and goes back over there. And then this little flange thing, I'll tie that to eventually after I put this back together. And same thing over here. Made this. And then I'll tie, this will get 8L clamped in that hole. And this is the hose that goes down there. I'm gonna have to lengthen it because apparently wherever I had this at before was not the same place. So I'll just loosen all these and then I'll have to pull it down through. But yeah, that's in there. It's solid now. And then this down here supports the bottom of it. So that's what bears the weight. And then that just keeps it from flopping around. So anyway, I'm pulling this out now. I just wanted to show that. Now that that is mounted in there. Now, same thing as the other side. I'm gonna fix those up. And this box was mounted right where it's at on the 4th gen. And I don't know what it is, but it's freaking hideous because you can see it, you know, down through the fender. So I'm gonna try to find a spot to relocate that. Maybe like right here with the plug facing up. I don't know, I don't have a clue what that is, but I don't like it. It's too visible down here. So same thing, M14 bolt through there instead of the 3/8 and then fix those up. And then moving back here and doing this area. So we're the next morning, got that stuff done down there. I got this thing made, that's mounted now. Cut the fender a little bit, drilled and tapped this new hole. This was actually still in this fender. I had to cut it out, is kind of chewed up on the edge where they just torched the fender right here. So yeah, the story of these fenders here, for anybody that didn't watch long enough ago, these fenders, the cab was rusty or whatever, and he literally just took a torch right there. And I just happened to go to his house. I was like, hey, I need some extra fenders for what I'm trying to put together. He's like, here, take these. So then with those being screwed up anyway, I had no issue cutting up here. I honestly thought I was going to be using these for mock-up, but they're solid, so they don't have any rust down here. This one does not, but the other one you saw, we patched earlier. So now they're both rust-free. They're solid. Both of them patched. Both of them 4.5-inch stretched. Had to knock that little dent out right there. Yeah, so anyway, the door's up here on the table. It is ready for surgery. You can see what we're working with there. This is... I bet there's Bondo in there. That's why it looks like it does. So, and there's some waves back here. Not sure if that's just where the corner got bent down and like deformed around the inner structure, or if that's bubbles. So we're gonna sand that too and try to pop these dents out just a little bit, those wavy areas. Not too bad, but we gotta fix it up anyway. I'd say that's about enough for this week. I think the rockers are going to deserve their own video because that is a pretty big project all by itself. I got to replace the inner floor here too. You can see it was rotted out, and then there's like a panel under it. So I'm going to fix all that properly. And then these I folded over because there's a wiring harness under those pieces of metal. So I'll take that out. Probably be taking the seat out. Probably taking both of these seats out, honestly. It's going to be a good project. But we got a lot done this week for sure. That door's patched. That spot there did not need it. This here, that side. Actually, I got a nice little pile over here somewhere of all the metal I replaced. So couple little bitty holes there. And then all this was rusty metal we replaced. There's the fender. Here's one of the doors. There's the driver's side door. There's part of the black truck door. This was that valance piece. So I think we're done now, other than the rockers. That got done a while back. We're getting somewhere. So yeah, we'll see you next week doing rockers.